I'm in the real estate field already, trying to get into syndication and raising capital, and I'm in a small market. What are some advice, tips, or something you would focus on if you were in my shoes?
I think a lot of people think of capital raising or, being, in that area as sales or as, trying to get someone to do something. But truly, you're offering a service that so many people want that it's really a matter of just talking about what you do.
I'm Brian Briscoe, host of the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. And this podcast is different than everything else out there. I bring together a new and an experienced investor on each episode, and I let the aspiring investor ask the questions that they need answered. So if you're an aspiring investor yourself, you probably will have the exact same questions. Now, before we get to this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and that little bell to make sure you get notified every time we post a new episode. And now, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe. Very excited for today's show. It's another one of our Ask the Expert episodes, and we have two amazing and very special people on the line with us. We've got my friend Amy Sylvis, and we also have our Tribe of Titans member, Austin Johnson here. So guys, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amy, we're going to start with you first. Let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us about Amy Sylvis, who you are, and let's just start with there. Tell us who you are.
Sure. So my husband and I live in Los Angeles, California. We both were born and raised here. We both come from very large families. We spend a lot of time with them out here in LA. As you know, I do real estate full-time, and I'm also a big college football fan and love to travel internationally. So, and spend a lot of our free time also doing volunteer work with various children's organizations here in Los Angeles.
Oh, nice. So football fan, and, the two of us know, but I'll just say it, USC, they're okay this year. What I've heard, travel internationally. Where's your favorite place to travel, or the favorite place that you have traveled so far?
Such a hard question. It's tied, I would say, between Budapest, Hungary, and Salzburg, Austria. Both are incredible.
Interesting. My wife and I were talking about cruise locations, looking like Mediterranean. I haven't done a lot of Europe travel yet. I've been Southeast Asia, I've been Middle East, been South America, Central America. I think Europe's next for us. So we're going to put those on our itinerary, though. I don't think many cruises stop in Austria.
No, you can take a Danube cruise through Central Europe, but not if you're going through the Mediterranean, the Atlantic and such.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, cool. And you say you volunteer at some children's foundations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes.
You may not volunteer. You use different words. I'm putting words in your mouth, but go
No,
ahead.
that's okay. That's fine. No, we do volunteer work. We donate and we support. My husband came from a background where his parents had to work full time, and he needed after school care and enrichment. So as such, we're very close to after school programs for underserved and underprivileged children here in Los Angeles, which unfortunately there are many. And it really brings, look at you. It really brings a lot of joy to our heart to support, the upcoming generation and those who maybe don't have, the resources that every child deserves. So that is a big motivator for us and near and dear to our heart.
I love it. And sorry for the timing on that one, but it wasn't supposed to go live. For people who are listening to this, if I'm a big University of Utah football fan. She's a big USC football fan. I just put a big Utah graphic on my Zoom background. Oh, and there she goes. She got the USC. Austin, you got a Clemson one for us? He's working on it. He's working on it. Okay,
let's go.
Good. All right. So here we go. First of all, I love that you talked about what you guys do. And I think a lot of people, whatever gap people are missing when they grow up tends to be where they put a lot of effort into in philanthropy. And I think that's something I see, time and time again, but commend you guys for being so active in doing that for other people. Very much appreciate it. So let's talk about real estate now. How did you get into commercial multifamily?
Oh, it was a tale of 10 years of trials and failures. But essentially, my big why was I was born with a health condition where I wasn't sure if I would be able to trade my time for money as an adult. Everything is great now. My health is in impeccable condition, but growing up with cystic fibrosis, a genetic disease that impacted my lungs, I really wasn't sure how long I'd be able to work and kind of what my income situation looked like. And the last thing I wanted to do was, to have to be dependent upon my parents, who of course would have helped me as an adult, but they sacrificed so much with me growing up that I was really on this constant search to find a way to be self-supportive. And this notion of trading my time for money was all I really knew. Nice, Austin. Nice background.
Yeah, now we got to have some background. So, yeah.
This is fun. This just got real. I love it. So anyway, long story short, I was, went to undergrad, got my MBA, was working in biotech, all really great things, but none of them led to kind of that time freedom that I was so desperately looking for because I didn't really know what the future would be for my health.
Amy, I appreciate a lot what you said. I know cystic fibrosis. Wow, I'm glad you're in a position right now where you don't have to worry about that. First of all, so I'm sure you're a lot more happy than I am with that, but I'm very, very, very glad about that. But and it's definitely something that in real estate, not cystic fibrosis, but real estate is something where a lot of people are attracted to it because the income is unlimited. It's work as hard as you can, and you can build to the point to where your income is literally unlimited. That's one thing that I definitely like about it as well. Speaking of, let's talk about one of the deals that you've been involved with. Pick your first or your favorite, the one you like to talk about the most, and tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Gosh, it's hard to pick a favorite. It's like choosing a favorite child, I suppose. I don't have kids, but I'm imagining. Yeah. About 2 months ago, we closed on a 220 unit in Decatur, Alabama, just outside the Huntsville, Alabama MSA. Really love that market. The business plan for that portfolio, it's a 2-property portfolio, is extremely exciting. So yeah, love to talk about that one. And gets me excited every time I think about it.
But what do you guys love about that property? Besides Huntsville is a great area. And incidentally, my daughter lived in Decatur for a little while. So yes, I know, right?
Small world. Small world.
Yeah.
Well, so you may know this already then, but for the listeners, for everybody else, Decatur is, a submarket just a little southwest of Huntsville proper. Huntsville, although it is, has a very low cost of living, it is still becoming a little bit more expensive for folks. And we've had a lot of great success, even in other properties that we've purchased around the Southeast, with being just outside of a main metropolitan statistical area, or kind of a metro area, if you will. Yeah. So what's so interesting about these properties is they have been owned by the same gentleman for at least 2 decades. Wow. And he was doing quite well with them, but the residents started to tell the property management, hey, we'd love to pay a little bit more if you all be really willing to renovate. These are a little out of date. Jobs are increasing, incomes are rising in the area. And there hasn't been any new developments in the county that Decatur is in decades. It's starting to occur. But anyway, long story short, there's a large gap in the marketplace of kind of B plus type product. And we are just so thrilled to be able to, do what we all do best in real estate, which is give our customers the product that they're looking for. So we've got a value add strategy, and we're going to be able to give these amazing residents what they've been asking for several years.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, Decatur, I think that's a good strategy. A lot of times, prices go up in the major metro areas, and on the fringes of these major metros, you can get a lot of the deals, a lot of really good, especially right now where prices are so high. Huntsville's been on a lot of people's radars for a long time. And Decatur, I think, is just far enough away that it's close enough where you're getting the same economic advantages, you're getting the same tailwinds, but it's just far enough away where you're not getting the same prices. So I think there's a lot of value to that. Well, cool. Well, we talked a lot about some of the causes that you're into, and I'm going to focus you down, and I'm going to ask about your why. All right. So what is your big burning why?
Well, it's so interesting. After I got this miracle medication about 2.5 years ago for cystic fibrosis, my why really did change. What initially attracted me to the industry and into this profession, it really has changed because I am able to trade my time for money now. So now it's all about expansion. It is about, what can I do to serve the most number of people, whether that's, every precious child in Los Angeles that is in need for enrichment and after school programs, whether it's, other people with orphan diseases that don't have medications that can treat them, or even, our residents that deserve safe, secure, affordable housing. The money is nice, as we talked about just before this podcast goes on, or went on, but there really is a higher purpose that I feel called for. And I'm certainly not here at 41 years old by accident. So I'm so excited to lean into that purpose and have that positive impact on the world that I know I can have.
I love it. I love it. So, so when we talk about whys, you can tell how successful people are going to be by how excited they are about their whys, and you just brought the excitement level up a notch here. So,
right.
So looking forward, you've done amazing things so far, and, I'm sure you're going to, raise the bar for everybody around you. That said, what is next for you?
Living in Los Angeles, there are many people, it probably doesn't surprise anyone listening, that don't want to invest in California, right? The political environment, I know, mind blowing, right, Austin? Austin's head just exploded. The political environment, the lack of economic stability and growth. So I am serendipitously running across a lot of people within my network, just people in the greater California area that are looking to deploy capital. And I'm a big person that tries to listen to what people want of me, even, especially in the business area. So I'm working to help investors understand where they can deploy this capital, where, not everyone in Los Angeles wants to fly out or, be in Decatur, Alabama. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a 4.5-5 hour flight. You can create a whole new job for yourself by just trying to invest from that far away. So stepping into that role and adding value to folks by connecting them with great investment opportunities is up next for me.
Yeah, I love it. And here's something that a friend of mine, I think he was the second or third person that I recorded a podcast with. He's in the Bay Area. And he said when he started out, somebody had to tell him, what you just said is, you don't live in a state where people want to invest. You live in a state where people always talk about out of state investing. You live in a money state, not so much a deal finding state. And you've been able to position yourself to take advantage of that, where you've got a lot of people in Southern California that have a lot of money for various reasons, and they all want to invest in other places, and you're just right there in the middle of it. So, well, good on you. And here's where we transition a little bit. A lot of transition points in this podcast, but here's where we transition a little bit and bring Austin on. So, Austin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Austin, do us a favor and tell us a little bit about yourself. Besides your love for Clemson football, what else is there to Austin?
Right. As you pointed out, I love Clemson football. Diehard fan there. I'll just go all the way back to kind of where Austin started and then what got him here very quickly, as fast as possible. So went to college, got a degree in exercise science, decided I was going to become a personal trainer. So, health is my thing. I'm 100% focused on health. Got out of college, started working at a gym. Hated every second of it. Every second of it, I hated it. I had just moved out of my parents' house though. So I had to, push my way through it, make it work kind of thing. About a year into that, actually got let go of that job. So I was sitting at home going, how am I going to make money now? Good friend of mine said, hey, dude, take a look at stocks. Take a look at some options trading. So I did some options trading here and there in that unemployment time frame there. After 6 months or so of options trading, of course, I got back to work as well. I discovered Bigger Pockets podcast, which I'm sure a lot of people have.
Yep.
Really, really got into real estate from there. My buddy who was into options trading said, no, man, I'm going to stick to stocks. I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong. Real estate's the best way to go. It's a lot better than stocks. I'm going to prove you wrong. So that's basically what launched me into the career I'm in right now, which is a commercial real estate appraiser for the county here in Jefferson City, Missouri. It all started with Austin saying, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to show him that real estate is better than stocks. And that's kind of what got me where I am at now.
All right. So you're a commercial appraiser in in Missouri right now. Now, did you get into that job to help you learn about the industry, or tell us a little bit about that? More than just to
Right.
prove them wrong, but why'd you pick the particular career?
Right. And you guys can't hear that bike outside, right?
No, we're
The second I hit unmute, the neighbor started up his dirt bike. I'm like, are you kidding me? Sorry.
Come on, neighbors, I'm recording here.
Right. How do they not see this? Anyway, so I got into the job. That's another slightly funny story to me, at least. Studying Bigger Pockets for who knows how long, a year, 2 years now, looking at deals, reading book after book after book. Went online one day. At that time, I was working security at the University of Missouri Hospital. And I also trained jujitsu, by the way. It's kind of why that tied in together. That being said, I was studying real estate, reading books nonstop. I saw the opening down here and I said, there's no way they're going to hire me. There's no possible way, right? Said, let's go ahead and try it. What's the worst that could happen? You know, applied, somehow got the interview, got down there, of course, got hired. They said, you seem to know all of your stuff. You seem to know what a cap rate is. You seem to know, you know, what the income and expense ratio and all that stuff is already. So yeah, we would love to have you on. I came in there, I actually applied for residential real estate because I figured commercial was way too, like, there's no way I can handle that. They called me and said, hey, we'd like to offer you either commercial or residential. It's your choice.
Wow. Nice.
That was kind of I don't know, man. I really don't know. I guess in the future, I'm going to think myself of going commercial. Well, turns out I did, because that led me to looking into multifamily more seriously. That led me into looking into everything commercial more seriously. Yeah.
You know, funny, there's a phrase you use, like, that's too difficult, or that's too tough. That was my takeaway. And this is kind of tells you where I was mentally, 20 years ago when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He talks a lot about commercial real estate. And I remember putting that book down thinking, man, commercial real estate, that's a little bit too complicated. And I started doing single family, but at the time I remember having that same thought, where I had a choice and it was just like, but in my defense, at least I started doing something. I mean, you look between the two and said, long-term, I want to be in commercial family. So I'm just going to launch in right now. So anyway, good for you. Once again, one question I ask everybody on the podcast, it's always about the motivation. So what is your big burning why?
Like everyone says, freedom, right? Freedom of time. One thing that really hits me, I listen to and read a lot of Ed Mylett. Sure, everyone knows who that is. A lot of people know who Ed Mylett is. One thing that he says is, he talks about the one. Of course, he has a book called The Power of One More, but he talks about the one. And basically, the basic premise of it is, in every family you see that's financially well off, at one point they weren't, until that one showed up. Until that one person showed up and said, no, I'm going to change this in my life. I'm going to take my family from where they are now to where I want them to be in the future and create a legacy for my family. So that's my biggest burning that reasoning why, is because I want to be that one in my family. So that in centuries from now, I look back like, hey, his family's very well off. Yeah. Well, Austin's the one. He's the one that stepped up and changed things. He's the one that made a positive impact to his environment, positive impact to his environment. Yeah, that word there. I was looking for another word, but I lost it.
That works. I'm sure there's a $10 word out there that would have made everybody, just be like, wow, he's got a vocabulary, but I think
he's
you
so
nailed
smart.
it.
Yeah.
I still think you nailed it, but being the one, I love it. Well, here comes my favorite part of the show. It's where I get to sit back and listen to a lot of what's going on. So Austin, we got Amy on the line. What do you want to ask her?
So this is very mindset focused question to lead them off. You're very charismatic. What are some daily routines or habits that you do to maintain that level of enthusiasm?
Oh, thank you. What a nice compliment. Appreciate that. I do the Miracle Morning. I don't know if you've read that book by Hal Elrod. Yeah. And a lot of it is gratitude. I wake up, I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the food that I get to eat. I get goosebumps just talking about it. I'm grateful for my amazing husband and, of course, the health that I have, and starting off with gratitude for things that, even I'm guilty of taking it for granted. I didn't grow up thinking a lot about maybe the roof over my head and the fact that that's just not a given, right? That, I can be protected from the rain or, extreme heat, et cetera. So I think having that mindset and really, keeping that perspective of gratitude that I do every morning really helps keep me going.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, I like the gratitude. I have a gratitude trigger just outside the screen where somebody said, put something close to your desk or close to where you are all the time. Every time you look at it triggers gratitude. And I got to say, it's actually turned into something that, I've seen so often that it almost blends into the rest of the environment. But I think gratitude for me has been huge too. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Amy. But I mean, taking things for granted, I think is something that we tend to do a lot. Especially here. I mean, I'm not hating on the Americans, but especially here in the US, being someone who's been to a lot of really, really poor and crappy places.
Right.
Having a roof over your head is not a given. And I think a lot of people do take it as such. So
part of the human condition just is. Yeah.
It is a lot of first world problems here. So, yeah. Austin, what's next?
Right. So next question I have here, Amy, I know you transitioned from the biotech field into real estate and you live in LA, which prerequisite, by the way. I listened to a couple of interviews of you before hopping on here. So I learned a little bit from there as well.
Wow. That's impressive.
It is homework.
So I know you live in LA and there's a lot of connections out there. You mentioned on here as well that it helps you with investing out of state because people there were like, hey, I don't want to invest here. I want to invest somewhere else. Lots and lots of people. I think I'm almost the opposite of you, to where I'm in the real estate field already, trying to get into syndication and raising capital. And I'm in a small market, LA, small market, out of the industry, in the industry. I almost say we're polar opposites. With that being said, what are some advice, tips, or something you would focus on if you were in my shoes?
So the goal is to raise capital. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
No, it's good. I just didn't want to go off on some tangent where you're like, hey, Amy, that's not my goal. What advice are you giving me? I think that the networking piece, it's never been easier to network. You mentioned you're in a smaller market, which of course I appreciate it's not Los Angeles, but my goodness, especially, I don't know if we're post-COVID or whatever you want to call it, but we are all so used to now connecting with people all over the globe. There are meetups. Brian has a great meetup on Fridays. A lot of people just have these virtual networking groups, and it's amazing what you can find and the people that you can connect with. Social networking groups like LinkedIn too. I mean, social networking used to be a bad word in my in my mind. I really didn't have the interest in the Facebooks and the Instagrams of the world, but professional platforms like LinkedIn, where people like Yona Weiss allow you to brag about what you do, once a week. And a lot of other people say, what are your needs? What are your wants? What are your haves that you can provide? So I think it's really just putting yourself out there in situations where you're around people and talking about what you do. I think a lot of people think of capital raising or, being, in that area as sales or as, trying to get someone to do something, but truly you are offering a service that so many people want that it's really a matter of just talking about what you do.
Yeah. I mean, Amy in some aspects has a huge advantage over you because she's in Los Angeles. There's probably 30 million people in Southern California. And, so from some respects, she's around lots and lots and lots of people, but, with social media, that doesn't matter anymore. I mean, it does, but it doesn't matter as much anymore. And one thing Amy's done well is her social media following, what she's done on LinkedIn. I mean, if you could learn anything from Amy, I would say just go to her LinkedIn page and start looking at what she's doing. And Amy, I'm just going to go out on a limb. I'd venture to guess you've probably found more investors on LinkedIn than you have in Los Angeles. Is that a true statement?
I would say it's about 50-50.
About 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say.
So you can do 50% as well as Amy just on LinkedIn. So there you go.
So it actually leads perfectly into another question I had there, which is how much do you focus on digital marketing? Be Reels, Facebook ads, websites versus in-person or Zoom calls or LinkedIn, like we just said?
Yeah, I don't have any paid advertising at all. I have a website. I do all my LinkedIn on my own, which some people think is insane, but that is me posting. And when I post, by SEC rules and the law, I can't advertise, the deals that I do or anything like that. I really try to. I don't know if you read the book, The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, but just be a go-giver and give information freely, tips, tricks, things that might be helpful to people and provide value. And that's it. So nothing else is paid. But in terms of, one-on-one calls, I mean, the goal is always, if people raise their hand or are interested in what I'm doing, to talk. Because a lot of people just aren't familiar with what this space is and what it means and what it can do for them. So I really value those one-on-one conversations, just, to help people get informed and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah. It's really nice with social media. I think LinkedIn is a special platform because it allows you to grow organically a lot better than Facebook or Instagram. I mean, those platforms are more aimed at, you have to pay money to get a lot of exposure, but for LinkedIn, you can still grow organically without paying, hundreds or thousands of dollars on, like the Facebook ads or to boost your posts. So, as far as where the bang for the buck is, LinkedIn, but it's a slow process. I mean, you're not gonna get there overnight, but if you're building a brand, building a reputation, the idea is to get on larger and larger stages. And I think LinkedIn is a place where you can just do that. The more you post, the more of a following you get, the bigger your stage is. So you can get on a larger and larger stage every day without leaving the house.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, Amy, you did just mention something I had written down here as a question. So I'm preface with, I was actually just about 5 minutes before Brian texted me to be on the show, I was reading the Gary Vaynerchuk book, Jab, 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 Right Cross. I preface that for a reason. I have written down here, you say be a go-giver. You just mentioned that book. I was listening to another podcast you were on. You mentioned being a go-giver is so important. So my question was, you say be a go-giver. So how do I put that into action? Being where in my shoes that I'm currently in, how do I put that into action like you are?
Yeah. You're in a really cool job that not a lot of people understand, but that is incredibly important for, folks that are interested in real estate to understand. So I think the one thing that's hard for all of us, myself included, is to realize perhaps kind of what value we can bring to the table, because we're kind of with ourselves all the time. It's like, oh, is that really interesting? But Austin, you do things that I think that people would be really curious to hear about. And you can demonstrate your competence, your expertise, but again, also teach people that may not be familiar or may be intimidated by real estate and give them insight into kind of your corner of that and why your job is incredibly important.
Okay. Yeah. And I think you got a great job to leverage, especially when it comes to, when you're looking at properties, you have to understand the dynamics of value. What changes value? How do you make something go from a $10 million property to a $15 million property? Yep. And that's something that you're into every single day, so I agree 100%. If you can just start sharing little aspects, little nuggets like that, where, I don't know what your day-to-day job looks like, but, here's an example of a $12 million property. Here's an example of a $16 million property and what makes the difference.
Yep.
Yeah. We don't have anything that massive here in Joe City.
A $12,000 property and a $16,000 property then.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go. Yeah, went full to the other extreme. So there we go.
Good question.
Yeah.
So Amy did have, I don't know if you can see this, actually have a
whole list of them.
Wow.
A bunch of words written out from notes I took from listening to looking you up and stuff. So another question I did have, though, I noticed you say you're very good at finding emerging markets and doing analysis on those as well. Do you have any books or suggestions as far as someone wanting to learn about emerging markets?
Yes. Yeah, that is my one of my big passions in this space. I don't know if it's because I get to look at maps all day long or really study markets and I feel like I'm traveling inside the United States. I don't know, but I really enjoy it. Dave Lindahl has an incredible book called Emerging Market Wealth that I would highly recommend. It talks about market cycles, talks about the concrete data points that you can look into to really understand what is an emerging market, how that would, how you can find one. So I would say that's one of the best books I could recommend.
What was the author's name again?
Oh, Dave Lindahl.
Dave Lindahl. Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's kind of a big deal. He's one of those guys that's been around for a long time as far as he like all the people who have these big coaching programs right now, a lot of those guys were his students, 10, 15 years ago. So
the Godfather.
He's been around for a while, but I haven't read any of his books yet. Maybe I should, but
this one's a good one. I recommend it.
Put it on my reading list too. So
do it.
All right. Well, Austin, we got time for one more question. If you got any more.
So, final question here. You mentioned in previous interviews, it took you about 10 years to actually get started and get the ball rolling in real estate investing. So in your opinion, how does someone go from where I'm currently at to speed that up? So I can get to I think you had 6 or 7 deals in 6 months. Or was it 4 deals? Probably like 4 deals in 6 months. How does somebody brand new jump the line and skip that 10-year gap to where I can also get those 4 deals in 6 months?
Yeah, thankfully, my story is a bit on the other end of the bell curve in terms of how long it takes to get into that industry. It was a bit more of juggling my health, which was a full-time job, and then my actual full-time job, and then the side hustle, and just kind of not being able to make all of those things align until I started on this new medication. But I think the real key once I was healthy was to find a team. Mm-hmm. If you're anything like me, I suspect you all may be, but you're motivated, you're driven, you're used to getting stuff done. So if something needs to be done on this new real estate career, got it, whatever the word is, I'm going to get it done. And it wasn't until I really said, okay, you know what, I'm going to align myself with the team, figure out what my core skill sets are, what I can bring to the table, and align with other people with common values, but complementary skill sets as well, that everything really took off. The great Trevor McGregor, one of my business coaches, calls it going further, faster. And it truly is the secret sauce, I think, in the multifamily space. So It can be intimidating. Sometimes you hear stories about partnerships, not going well, but the reality is it is just what has to happen, and you will be okay. You will learn along the way and you will make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say I just left a partnership that I've been in for several years. And one of the biggest, I think, hesitations to leaving the partnership was knowing that eventually, I'd have to just replace the partnership that I was leaving, knowing that eventually I'm like, okay, I have a bunch of partners. We all have our jobs and our roles, and we were able to do so much more together than I ever could alone. But I would say one of the things that made me hesitate in leaving, I probably should have left 6 months earlier, was the fact that in the back of my mind, I'm like, but I need partners, and I know I need partners, and I can't do this by myself. I've done this enough to know that I can't. And that was like a big point of trying to stay in a partnership. But at the end of the day, you're going to go a lot further with partners. And some people would say faster, some people wouldn't, but I guess that depends on your point of view. So there's a common saying: if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with someone else, or something like that. I butchered it. Final thoughts from anybody before we wrap things up?
I'm just impressed, Austin, by all your homework. Thanks for those great questions. Yeah. Hats off to you. Very cool.
Yeah. If we had a doing homework award, today, Austin, you're going to get an A for effort. So you did pretty well at the podcasting too, but I think that the preparation was just really, really there. So nailed it.
Impressive.
Well, that said, like I said, we are about out of time. Did want to give both of you guys, one last word. And the question is going to be this: what can listeners do to learn more about you? And Amy, you get to go first.
Great. I have a website, sylviscapital.com. I'm told not to spell that out, but please check the show notes because you're going to spell it wrong. Everyone does. It's nothing personal. I'm also on LinkedIn. I love to connect with people, start conversations. So either way, look forward to speaking with you.
We might spell it wrong on purpose in the show notes now, but Sylvis is in her last name. And it was me that told her not to spell it out. So anyway, Austin, same question for you. How can listeners learn more about you?
Yeah, so I have the same name on Facebook, Instagram, and my website. They're all my name, Austin Johnson, with real estate in the middle. That's real estate, REAL. Austin Real Estate Johnson. That's Instagram, that's Facebook, and it's also austinrealestatejohnson.com.
All right. Perfect. Thanks a lot. All right. Hey, well, once again, thanks so much for spending some time with me. And if you're just listening to this podcast and you're not on YouTube, go to YouTube just to see the backgrounds right now, because, you know, we got some college football themed backgrounds, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited for the college football season to start again, you know, especially because, you know, Utah's going to just trounce USC in October. But
48 days until kickoff. No one's counting, though.
Nobody's counting. Nobody's counting. So anyway, thanks again for coming on the show, and hope you guys have a great day.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, if you like that episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community, the Tribe of Titans, yet, you are missing out. So get yourself 30 days free by clicking the link below in the description, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.